An interesting story in the Gospels comes out of Mark chapter 12, and it's very revealing to us about the values of our lives and also about how we interact with God in those values. It starts out in verse 41 of Mark chapter 12. And Jesus sat down opposite the treasury and began watching how the people were putting money into the treasury. And many rich people were putting in large amounts. And a poor widow came and put in 2 leptocoins, which amount to a quadrans. Calling his disciples to him, he said to them, Truly, I say to you, this poor widow put in more than all the contributors to the treasury. For they all put in out of their surplus, but she, out of her poverty, put in all she owned, all she had to live on. Well, it's first of all interesting to note that Jesus was interested in what people were giving to their religious processes. And of course we see that great conundrum, which is basically a catch-22 in the church here in North America today. The more people you have in, the more money you'll get in, the more you're able to sustain the ministry that you think you're producing for the kingdom of God or for the salvation of souls or whatever the goal is. And Jesus kind of says none of that really matters. It's all in a position and a posture of the heart of those give. It's not we're going to raise funds to do this, A, B, C, D, or we have to meet a budget monthly in our church of so many dollars so that we can be here to serve you in ministry. Well, that's kind of the coined phrases we hear in most congregations today. But is it really the reality of how God looks at the way we give? And Jesus sees all these rich people throwing big bucks in the treasury. Doesn't impress him a bit. They might have been putting it in there for various reasons, for just their looking good in front of everybody else, which we see is typically what happens. And then we see this poor widow. Now, you have to think a minute. How did Jesus know she was a widow? By the way she was dressed, by the way she presented herself. And more than likely, that covering of sackcloth and ashes. She had these 2 Egyptian copper coins. That was all she had. She gave it to God. You know, she did that with faith that God was going to meet her needs, not her wants. Because she had learned the value of need. She had learned the value of true relationships in her life, and she knew that she needed that true relationship with God, and she was willing to do whatever it took. She gave the last 2 copper Egyptian coins to the Jewish temple treasury. I just love that. That's so good. And I have no doubt, because of what Jesus said, God met her needs. See, our problem is we're always trying to do the right thing with whatever we got left over. Got to pay our bills first, right? No, not always. Now, there are times we do. But we have to be obedient when God says, give all. And when we do that, doesn't matter what all is, it's that God has told us to do that, and we need to be obedient. If we do that, we will be blessed. And we don't give to be blessed. We give knowing that God rewards one way or another, one point in existence or another, those who are obedient to him.